Welcome to our channel. Hollywood is home to countless female stars blessed with mesmerizing beauty, extraordinary talent, and an undeniable aura. Yet, not all of them get to fully revel in their own brilliance. Behind the dazzling lights of the silver screen lie stories of fate cruelly intertwined with tragedy. Stories no one could predict it. Among them were some of the most stunning and gifted black actresses the industry had ever seen. But life dealt them a merciless hand, leading to sudden, unthinkable, and heartbreaking ends. If you want to know who they were and the haunting circumstances surrounding their untimely deaths, stay tuned for this list of 21 black actresses whose passing shook Hollywood to its core. Some of these cases remain wrapped in mystery, lingering in our minds and leaving unanswered questions that refuse to fade. Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman, the angelic voice silenced by darkness. Phyllis Hyman, the goddess of R&B and jazz, was a force of nature. Her voice, rich and seductive, could stir the deepest emotions, while her soulful eyes seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 untold stories. During the 1970s and 80s, she reigned as one of the brightest stars in the music industry, leaving behind mesmerizing classics like You Know How to Love Me and Living All Alone. Yet, behind the dazzling spotlight, Phyllis was not a happy woman. Beneath the electrifying performances and the soaring melodies lay a soul trapped in torment, a silent battle with loneliness, depression, and despair that no one could truly see. On June 30th, 1995, the day she was set to perform at the legendary Apollo Theater in New York, Phyllis Hyman made a decision that would shock the world. She didn't take the stage. She didn't sing those haunting, unforgettable notes. Instead, she chose solitude. Alone in her Manhattan apartment, she penned a final, heartbreaking farewell. "I've tried my best, but I can't go on anymore." Hours later, she swallowed a lethal dose of sleeping pills, and her pain just 6 days before her 46th birthday. Few knew the depths of her suffering. For years, she fought a relentless battle against depression, weighed down by the pressures of fame, career setbacks, mounting debt, and a longing for love that always seemed just out of reach. In the end, all that remained was an unbearable emptiness. By the time her body was discovered, it was far too late. A life once filled with ambition, dazzling stage lights, and timeless music had come to a mournful, silent end. At her funeral, as Living All Alone played, the world finally understood it wasn't just a song. It was her truth, her heartbreak, her final whisper to the world that had adored her, yet never truly seen her. Her death was a sorrowful goodbye to a world she fought to belong to, yet could never fully grasp. Charmaine Maxwell. Charmaine Maxwell, a tragic fall that stole a golden voice. Charmaine "Maxie" Maxwell, a standout member of the 90s R&B group Brownstone, was more than just a singer. She was an icon. With her mesmerizing voice and ethereal beauty, she enchanted millions with chart-topping hits like If You Love Me. But just as her talent shined brilliantly, her life was cut tragically short, leaving behind a cloud of unanswered questions. On the night of February 27, 2015, what should have been an ordinary evening turned into a nightmare. Maxie had just returned home from her son's soccer game, her smile radiant as she stepped through the door. No one could have predicted that this would be the last time she would ever walk through her home. A sudden and devastating fall changed everything. She had been holding a wine glass when she lost her balance. The glass shattered, and in a horrific twist of fate, a sharp shard sliced deep into her neck, severing a vital artery. Blood poured out like a flood, and within moments, Maxie collapsed. The room fell into a haunting stillness. Her husband, Karsten Soulshock Shack, found her motionless, surrounded by a pool of blood. Panic-stricken, he frantically called for help, but by the time paramedics arrived, Maxie had already taken her last breath. There were no signs of foul play, no evidence of self-harm, yet her death remained shrouded in mystery. Was it truly an accident? Some believe it was a tragic freak occurrence. Others whisper theories of something more sinister, a staged assault, a hidden truth buried beneath the surface. The police found no definitive answers, leaving the circumstances of her passing forever wrapped in shadows. What remains is the echo of her voice, a golden sound forever frozen in time. Charmaine Maxwell was gone in an instant, but But her music, her presence, and the enigma of her final moments continue to haunt those who loved her. Aaliyah, the doomed flight that stole R&B's princess at the peak of her stardom. Aaliyah wasn't just a princess of R&B. She was a phenomenon, a beacon of beauty, talent, and effortless style. She captivated the world not only with her chart-topping hits, but also by setting trends no one could ignore. But on August 25, 2001, tragedy struck. At just 22 years old, as her career was reaching new heights, her life was suddenly and tragically cut short. That day, Aaliyah and her team had just wrapped filming the music video for Rock the Boat in the Bahamas. Eager to return to Miami for their next big projects, they made the fateful decision to board a small twin-engine Cessna 402B. The plane, dangerously overloaded, exceeding the weight limit by at least 700 pounds, was a disaster waiting to happen. Worse yet, the pilot, Luis Morales III, was neither licensed to fly the aircraft nor sober. Later investigations would reveal traces of cocaine and alcohol in his system. Despite multiple warnings, the flight took off at 5:15 p.m. Within moments, disaster struck. Struggling under the excess weight, the plane veered sharply to one side, lost control, and plummeted into the woods just beyond the runway. A violent explosion followed, sending thick plumes of smoke into the sky. Rescuers arrived to the scene of devastation. 8 lives lost on impact. Aaliyah, thrown from the wreckage, lay motionless. She had suffered catastrophic injuries, severe brain trauma, third-degree burns, and multiple fatal wounds. Death was nearly instantaneous. Silence fell over those who witnessed the unimaginable. The investigation that followed uncovered a series of reckless, tragic errors, an unqualified pilot, an overloaded aircraft, and, perhaps most heartbreaking of all, a reluctant Aaliyah, exhausted and hoping to take a later flight, ultimately pressured into boarding. Her death wasn't just a loss. It was a senseless tragedy that could have been prevented. Aaliyah's light was extinguished far too soon, but her legacy remains, forever etched in the music, the culture, and the hearts of those who loved her. Michelle Thomas. Michelle Thomas, a brave battle against a ruthless illness. Michelle Thomas was a gifted actress, a radiant beauty, and a warm presence best known for her role as Myra Monkhouse on Family Matters. With her gentle smile and undeniable talent, she lit up every room she entered. But in late 1998, at just 30 years old, she was taken far too soon, leaving an unfillable void in the hearts of her fans. It all began in 1997, when Michelle started experiencing persistent stomach pains. At first, she dismissed them as minor digestive issues. Nothing to worry about. No one could have imagined that a rare and merciless form of stomach cancer was silently taking hold. She was one of the few women worldwide diagnosed with this devastating disease. By the time doctors uncovered the truth, it was too late. The cancer was terminal. Despite the grim prognosis, Michelle refused to surrender. She endured grueling surgeries, chemotherapy, and radiation, fighting with everything she had. As the treatments took their toll, her body weakened. Her hair fell, her frame grew frail, but through it all, she never lost her light. She still smiled. She still shone. Even as she had unbearable pain from the world, she carried herself with grace and strength. By December 1998, knowing her time was running out, Michelle made the heartbreaking decision to stop treatment. She chose to spend her final days at home, surrounded by the love of her family. On the night of December 23rd, just 2 days before Christmas, she took her last breath, leaving the world in sorrow. She was gone too soon, just as her career and life were reaching their brightest moments. A cruel, unseen enemy had stolen her future. But Michelle Thomas's legacy remains, a life filled with beauty, talent, and unwavering courage. Lisa Lopes. Lisa Left Eye Lopes. A haunting premonition and a tragic end. Lisa Left Eye Lopes, the fiery rapper and irreplaceable force behind TLC, captivated the world with her bold personality and signature style. With chart-topping hits like No Scrubs and Waterfalls, she left an indelible mark on music. But in 2002, at just 30 years old, her life was cut short in a tragic accident, one that still haunts fans of this day. In the weeks leading up to her death, Lisa was plagued by eerie premonitions. Seeking peace, She traveled to Honduras, but an unsettling fear lingered. Then, a chilling event unfolded. She was involved in an accident that killed a young boy named Lopes, a haunting echo of her own surname. Lisa believed the spirit was pursuing her, but had mistakenly taken the boy instead. She documented her growing dread in journals and videos, as if she knew her fate was sealed. On April 25, 2002, Lisa was behind the wheel of an SUV in La Ceiba, Honduras, with friends by her side. In a split second, everything changed. For reasons still unknown, the vehicle swerved violently off the road. Lisa was thrown from the driver's seat, her head striking the pavement with fatal force. Though help arrived quickly, it was too late. She was gone, adding to the eerie nature of her passing. Lisa had been filming her journey. The moment of impact was captured on camera, making her death one of the most chilling tragedies in showbiz history. She left the world as her career was soaring, with unfinished projects and dreams left behind. To this day, her family, friends, and fans can't forget the strange prophecies that seemed to foreshadow her untimely end, almost as if destiny had already written her final chapter. Dorothy Dandridge. Dorothy Dandridge. The mysterious death and tragic end of Hollywood's first black leading lady. Dorothy Dandridge, the mesmerizing beauty of 1950s Hollywood, captivated the world with her radiant brown skin, soulful eyes, and undeniable talent. As the first black actress ever nominated for an Academy Award, earning the honor for her iconic role in Carmen Jones, 1954, she shattered barriers in an industry reluctant to embrace her brilliance. Yet at the height of her fame, tragedy struck, stealing her away far too soon. On the morning of September 8, 1965, an eerie silence filled Dorothy's modest West Hollywood apartment. When her manager arrived, he was met with a haunting sight. Dorothy lay lifeless on the floor, wearing nothing but a thin nightgown. The vibrant star was gone at just 42 years old. The night before, she had been ecstatic, calling friends to share the exciting news of a major New York performance contract. Everything seemed to be turning around. But by morning, her promising new chapter had come to an abrupt and devastating end. The initial autopsy ruled her death as an overdose of antidepressants. But as whispers of foul play grew, another theory surfaced. A coroner discovered burst blood vessels in her leg, raising the possibility of a fatal deep vein thrombosis. Could have been a tragic accident rather than suicide. Suspicion deepened. There was no sign of forced entry, yet some of her possessions had mysteriously disappeared. Despite her superstar status, Dorothy had spent years battling Hollywood's racism. Denied leading roles because of her skin color, she was often relegated to singing for white actresses behind the scenes, while her own opportunities dwindled. As the industry moved on to younger stars, her fame faded, and so did her fortune. 2 failed marriages, an exploitative ex-husband who drained her finances, and a daughter with severe mental illness, permanently institutionalized, left her emotionally and financially broken. Crushed by debt, she found herself sleeping on friends' couches, her dreams slipping further out of reach. The weight of it all led her into a deep depression, and the pills became an escape, perhaps an inevitable one. When she died, Dorothy Dandridge had only $222 to her name. Only in death was she truly recognized as the trailblazing legend she had always been, a woman who paved the way for generations of black actresses. But by then it was too late. Naya Rivera. Naya Rivera. The Lake Piru tragedy and the final noble act of a Glee star. Naya Rivera, a talented actress with captivating black Latina beauty, stole hearts as Santana Lopes on Glee. Her radiant smile, unwavering confidence, and undeniable charisma made her a shining star in Hollywood. But behind the glamour, few knew the fears and struggles she carried. Her tragic death at Lake Piru in 2020 remains an unforgettable heartbreak. On July 8, 2020, Naya and her 4-year-old son, Josie, rented a small boat for what was meant to be a peaceful afternoon on the lake. But what started as a simple outing became her final moments. Around 4 p.m., nearby boaters spotted her drifting vessel, empty, with no one at the helm. Fear gripped them as they discovered a panicked child alone, calling for his mother. Naya Rivera, once an icon, had vanished without a trace. A massive search followed, stretching across 5 agonizing days as the world held its breath. Lake Piru, infamous for its strong currents and treacherous depths, had claimed lives before. Even as a strong swimmer, Naya couldn't fight its deadly pull. On the morning of July 13th, her body was discovered floating 100 meters from the boat. The cause of death, accidental drowning. Josie's heartbreaking account revealed the true depth of her final moments. A sudden, fierce current pulled them both away from the boat. In a desperate fight for survival, Naya did what only a mother would. She saved her son. With her last strength, she pushed Josie back onto the boat. But exhausted and unable to save herself, she slipped beneath the surface. Her tragic passing only deepened the eerie shadow that loomed over the Glee cast. Corey Monteith's overdose in 2013. Mark Salling's suicide after a child pornography scandal. And now, Naya's devastating accident. It was as if a curse haunted them. But perhaps the most chilling detail? Years before her death, Naya wrote in her memoir, "I've always thought I'd drown. It's a fear I can't explain." And fate led her to the depths of Lake Piru. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston. A shocking fall from grace and a tragic farewell. Whitney Houston. A voice from heaven. A music icon like no other. With over 200 million records sold, multiple Grammys, and timeless hits like I Will Always Love You, she captivated the world with her soaring, emotive vocals. She was a legend, but behind the dazzling stage lights, her life was unraveling. Consumed by addiction and tragedy, fame, once her greatest gift, became her downfall. On February 11th, 2012, the world was stunned. Whitney Houston was gone. That afternoon, she was at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, preparing for Clive Davis's pre-Grammy Gala, a night meant to celebrate music's elite. Instead, it became the night of her tragic end. At 4 p.m., water ran in her hotel bathroom. 30 minutes later, her assistant opened the door and froze. Whitney lay face down in a filled bathtub, unresponsive. Paramedics arrived within minutes, but it was already too late. The autopsy revealed a grim reality. Whitney didn't just drown. Her system was laced with cocaine, Xanax, marijuana, muscle relaxants, and allergy medications, a lethal cocktail that left her unconscious and helpless underwater. Even worse, her heart, weakened by years of substance abuse, couldn't withstand the strain. She had reigned as a queen of pop, but fame had been her poison. In the 1990s, Whitney still shined, but that was when drugs took their hold. Her tumultuous marriage to Bobby Brown only deepened her downward spiral. By the 2000s, her once immaculate voice had become hoarse, fragile, just a shadow of its former brilliance. She was losing herself. In her final days, Whitney tried to reclaim her glory. She wanted to come back, but it was too late. The tragedy didn't end with her. 3 years later, on January 31st, 2015, her daughter, Bobby Christina Brown, was found unconscious in a bathtub, an eerie mirror of her mother's fate. She spent 6 months in a coma before passing away. Drugs, alcohol, and heartbreak had led her down the same tragic road. 2 lives, 2 haunting deaths, 1 shared, devastating end. Simone Battle. Simone Battle. The tragic fall of a rising star and the mystery of a fateful rope. Simone Battle was a star on the rise, an electrifying talent with a powerhouse voice, a radiant presence, and a magnetic energy that made her unforgettable. As a member of GRL, she commanded the stage, capturing hearts from her breakout on the X Factor USA to becoming an icon for a new generation. But behind the dazzling spotlight, her world was unraveling, a silent storm of pressure, loneliness, and despair. Then came the morning of September 5th, 2014, a morning that sent shockwaves through the music industry. Simone Battle was gone. She had taken her own life in her Los Angeles apartment. The home that once echoed with music and laughter had fallen eerily silent. When her father opened her bedroom door, he was met with an unthinkable sight, his daughter hanging from a closet rod. There was no struggle, no note, just a stark, chilling truth. At 25, Simone Battle was no more. The night before, her boyfriend noticed something was off. She seemed distant, withdrawn. But no one knew those were her final moments before slipping into the darkness. No goodbye, no second chance. Her death shattered the illusion of fame and peeled back a harsh truth about the industry she once dreamed of conquering. Beneath the glitz and glamour lay a cruel reality. Financial struggles, binding contracts, and a future that felt like it was slipping away. She had gained recognition, but not fortune. While the world saw her radiant smile, behind closed doors, she battled an invisible enemy, depression. Simone Battle's tragic end was more than the loss of an extraordinary artist. It was a sobering reminder of the dark underbelly of the entertainment world, a place where dreams are sold like gold but can turn to dust overnight, where the spotlight shines bright but leaves shadows no one dares to see. Stephanie Moseley. Stephanie Moseley was a radiant talent, a dancer whose star was on the rise. She graced the screen and hit the floor and shared the stage with icons like Chris Brown, Beyoncé, and Usher. Her career was poised for greatness until December 8, 2014, when her bright future was stolen in a tragic act of love and violence. That morning, police broke down the door of her Los Angeles apartment and found a nightmare. Stephanie lay lifeless in a pool of blood, her body next to her boyfriend, rapper Earl Hayes. Just hours earlier, neighbors had heard screams, then gunshots, then nothing. When officers arrived, the silence was chilling. Earl had shot Stephanie before turning the gun on himself. To those who knew them, it was an unthinkable end. But the warning signs had been there. Their once passionate love had darkened into something toxic, poisoned by jealousy and control. Earl was obsessed with the idea of betrayal, despite having no proof. Their fights grew more intense. Domestic violence became a pattern, and friends feared the worst. No one, however, expected the final act to be so sudden, so brutal. Stephanie Moseley's death wasn't just a loss to her loved ones and fans. It was a devastating reminder of the dangers of domestic abuse and toxic relationships. A life filled with promise, stolen too soon. A tragedy that should never be forgotten. Tammi Terrell. Tammi Terrell, a shining star dimmed too soon. Tammi Terrell was a golden voice of Motown, best known for her electrifying duets with Marvin Gaye, including Ain't No Mountain High Enough and You're All I Need to Get By. She had it all, talent, beauty, and a soaring career. But at the height of her success, fate dealt her a cruel hand. In 1967, while performing on stage, Tammi suddenly collapsed into Marvin Gaye's arms, a moment that sent shockwaves to the music world. It was the beginning of a devastating battle. Crippling headaches worsened, her body weakened, and after a series of tests, doctors confirmed the unthinkable: a malignant brain tumor. For 3 relentless years, Tammi fought with everything she had. She endured 8 grueling surgeries, countless treatments, each more futile than the last. Her once lustrous hair fell, her radiant beauty faded, and her body withered under the weight of her illness. Yet, she refused to surrender. Even as her strength ebbed, she stood on stage, singing to the pain, determined to hold on to the music that had defined her. But the disease showed no mercy. On March 16, 1970, at just 24 years old, Tammi Terrell took her final breath, cradled in the embrace of her family. Her passing left Marvin Gaye in inconsolable grief and the music world in mourning. Her funeral was not just a farewell to an extraordinary talent. It was a farewell to a luminous soul, a voice silenced far too soon by a merciless fate. Natina Reed. Natina Reed, a tragic end to a hip-hop star's unfinished story. In an instant, the world lost a rising star. Natina Reed, a standout member of the girl group Black, helped define late 90s R&B with hits like Bring It All to Me and I Do. More than just a talented rapper, she was a trendsetter, a fierce presence both on and off the stage. She even lit up the big screen in Bring It On, cementing her place in pop culture. But behind the glamour, Natina's life was a whirlwind of struggles. Fame had once lifted her to incredible heights, but in her final months, everything seemed to unravel. Her career was slipping through her fingers, financial hardships loomed, and she was raising a child alone in unstable circumstances. Still, she clung to hope, dreaming of a triumphant return with Black. That dream, however, would remain forever unfinished. Then came the night of October 26, 2012. The streets of Atlanta glowed under dim lights as Natina walked alone along a quiet road. No one could have known those would be her last moments. In a split second, a car sped toward her. The impact was devastating. Her body hurled onto the pavement in a brutal collision. The driver stopped immediately, but it was already too late. By the time Natina reached Grady Memorial Hospital, her heart had stopped beating. Her story ended too soon, her comeback forever unwritten. But her legacy, her music, and the fire she brought to the stage live on. Erica Ashe. Erica Ashe, a bright star dimmed too soon. Erica Ashe, the immensely talented actress and beloved comedic force behind Real Husbands of Hollywood and Survivor's Remorse, was a beacon of laughter, resilience, and unwavering spirit. With her radiant presence and elegant beauty, she captivated audiences and inspired countless fans. But behind her infectious energy lay a quiet battle, one that no one could have predicted would end in such heartbreaking tragedy. On July 28, 2024, Hollywood was shaken by the devastating loss of Erica Ashe at just 46 years old. For years, she fought breast cancer with remarkable courage, enduring grueling chemotherapy and relentless pain while continuing to pursue her passion. In 2024, she underwent surgery to address severe complications from the unrelenting disease. Initially, the procedure seemed successful, but her body soon turned against her. A sudden infection led to acute heart failure, and within days, the fierce woman who had defied cancer for so long took her final breath. Her loss is immeasurable, but her legacy, a testament to strength, talent, and unyielding determination, will forever live on. Bessie Smith. Bessie Smith, the Empress of the Blues, gone too soon. Bessie Smith, the legendary voice behind Downhearted Blues, the irreplaceable queen of the blues, was a force of nature, with soul-stirring vocals, commanding beauty, and a stage presence that captivated audiences. She was one of the most towering figures in 20th century music. Yet, no one could have foreseen the tragic day that would cut her life short in the cruelest way imaginable. On a fateful night, while traveling to Clarksdale, Mississippi, Bessie's car was involved in a devastating crash. The impact was so severe that the vehicle flipped, throwing her from the wreckage and leaving her critically injured. But what fueled even greater outrage was a haunting rumor that followed, that she was denied emergency care simply because she was black. Some accounts claim that a whites-only hospital turned her away, costing her a fighting chance at survival. Whether fact or myth, the whispers of injustice surrounding her death sparked decades of fury. In the end, Bessie Smith's passing wasn't just a heartbreaking loss for music. It became a symbol of the deep racial inequalities that plagued America. Even in death, the Empress of the Blues remained a powerful voice, echoing through history. Florence Griffith Joyner. Florence Griffith Joyner, the queen of speed, gone too soon. She was more than a track and field legend. She was an icon, a symbol of power, beauty, and style. Florence Griffith Joyner, better known as FloJo, didn't just break records. She shattered the very limits of speed, leaving the world in awe. But at the height of her life, fate dealt a cruel hand. On September 21st, 1998, the sports world was shaken to its core. FloJo, the fastest woman on earth, was found lifeless in her bedroom. No warning, no explanation. One night, she went to sleep and never woke up. The official cause? A stroke. But how could a world-class athlete, seemingly in peak health, collapse so suddenly? The unanswered question sparked a whirlwind of speculation. Was she secretly battling an illness? Had the relentless demands of her career taken an unseen toll? And then came the whispers, doping allegations that had long shadowed her record-breaking performances. Though never proven guilty, the suspicions lingered. To this day, her death remains wrapped in mystery. A life that burned so brightly was extinguished too soon, leaving behind a legacy of speed, style, and a haunting enigma that may never be solved. Coco Dadal. Coco Dadal, a tragic end and the pain of the black trans community. Coco Dadal was a force to be reckoned with, a striking presence in the documentary Kokomo City. known not only for her undeniable beauty and bold style, but for the unwavering strength she embodied as a black trans woman living her truth. She was at the height of her career, shining in a world that so often tries to dim voices like hers. But in April 2023, fate dealt a devastating blow. Atlanta was shaken by a brutal shooting. Coco was gunned down in the street, her life stolen at just 35. A senseless murder, a heinous crime. Her death was more than just a personal tragedy. It was a chilling reminder of the relentless violence that continues to target trans people of color. The news sent shockwaves across America, igniting outrage and painful questions. Was this a hate crime? A calculated attempt to silence a powerful voice within the LGBTQ+ community? Whatever the motive, one thing was certain. Coco's death left an irreplaceable void. In her absence, she became something more, a symbol of resilience, a rallying cry for justice, and a heartbreaking testament to the struggles of society's most marginalized. Her voice may have been silenced, but her legacy will never fade. Lynn Thigpen. Lynn Thigpen's tragic and unexpected passing. Lynn Thigpen was a veteran Hollywood actress known for her commanding voice and magnetic presence. She left an indelible mark on television and film, captivating audiences in the district and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, becoming a true symbol of talent and dedication. But just as her career continued to shine, tragedy struck. On March 12, 2003, Hollywood was shaken by devastating news. Lynn Thigpen was found dead in her Los Angeles apartment. She had suffered a fatal stroke, collapsing suddenly without warning. What made her passing even more haunting was the absence of any prior illness or symptoms. One moment, she was fine, and the next, she was gone. By the time she was discovered, it was too late to save her. Alone, with no chance for help, she left this world far too soon. Her death was not just a heartbreaking loss for her family and fans. It left an irreplaceable void in the entertainment industry, a stark reminder of how fragile life can be. Valerie Fairman. Valerie Fairman, a shining reality star lost the shadows of addiction. Once a radiant breakout star of MTV's 16 and Pregnant, Valerie Fairman captivated audiences with her youthful beauty, flowing hair, and infectious smile. But fame, as dazzling as it seemed, couldn't shield her from the darkness creeping behind the scenes. On December 21st, 2016, Valerie was found lifeless in a friend's bathroom in Chester, Pennsylvania. The coroner's report confirmed the tragic truth. She had overdosed on heroin. A once-beloved star, full of promise, reduced to just another name on the ever-growing list of lives lost to addiction. She had tried to break free. She had dreamed of a fresh start. But the weight of addiction proved relentless, dragging her back into its grip. It's haunting to imagine her final moments, alone, trapped in a silent battle against an enemy too powerful to outrun. Yvette Wilson. Yvette Wilson, a beloved comedic star lost to a relentless battle. Yvette Wilson was a radiant presence on American television, lighting up screens with her infectious humor in Moesha and the Parkers. Her warm, hilarious performances made her a household favorite. But behind the laughter was a life marked by hardship, ending in a tragedy no one saw coming. In 2012, Yvette received devastating news. She had been diagnosed with late-stage cervical cancer. As if that battle wasn't grueling enough, she was also fighting kidney disease, her health deteriorating at an alarming rate. Chemotherapy, radiation, unrelenting pain. She endured it all with remarkable strength, never letting go of her signature smile. But even with her fierce spirit, fate had other plans. On June 14, 2012, at just 48 years old, Yvette Wilson took her final breath, leaving behind a legacy of laughter and a profound sense of loss among those who loved her. Florence Ballard. Florence Ballard. From shining star to a tragic end in poverty, Florence Ballard once stood at the pinnacle of fame, her golden voice powering the Supremes, the legendary girl group of the 1960s. With her raw, soulful vocals, she captivated millions until it all came crashing down. In 1967, Florence was unceremoniously ousted from the Supremes, losing her Motown contract, her career, and her income in one devastating blow. She tried to stage a comeback, but the music industry had already moved on. Buried under mounting debt and personal struggles, she turned to alcohol, and her once bright spirit began to fade. In her final days, Florence lived in a crumbling Detroit home, forgotten by the world that once adored her. Then, on February 22, 1976, at just 32 years old, her heart gave out after years of hardship. A voice that had once shaken the music world was silenced, alone, penniless, and unnoticed. Her story remains one of the most heartbreaking tragedies in music history, a reminder of how quickly the industry can turn its back, even on those who helped build it. Melanie Thornton. Melanie Thornton, a skybound tragedy that silenced a golden voice. Melanie Thornton was the soul of La Bouche, the 90s Eurodance sensation. Her powerful, mesmerizing voice captivated the world with hits like Be My Lover and Sweet Dreams. Just as her career soared to new heights, fate dealt a cruel hand. On November 9, 2001, Melanie boarded Crossair Flight 3597, bound for Zurich, Switzerland. But she never made it safely to the ground. As the plane neared its destination, harsh weather and a loss of control sent it crashing into a forest. The devastating impact claimed 24 lives, Melanie among them. Fans were in shock. Just hours earlier, she had lit up the stage, radiating joy. Now, her name was etched onto a tragic list of victims. The stories I've shared today didn't just shake Hollywood. They left an unshakable void in the hearts of fans worldwide. These 21 extraordinary black stars met fates no one could have predicted. Yet, despite their heartbreaking ends, their beauty, talent, and legacies remain immortal in the annals of entertainment history. What do you think of their stories? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss my next video uncovering the shocking secrets behind the glitz and glamour of the entertainment world.